Hello, everyone. Welcome to our second episode with Pre-Health to Success. This is Behind the White Coat with your host, Malik, going over a meeting with a neurosurgeon. So, a brief explanation of this podcast episode. It gives you the in-depth of how to become a neurosurgeon, what neurosurgeons face as being a doctor in that type of field, and also the ins and outs of the daily lifestyle of a neurosurgeon. I am a medical assistant here at Community Neuroscience Institute, here with Dr. Kashyap Neurosurgery. He is going to be going over how to become a neurosurgeon and telling the in-depths about being a neurosurgeon. So, first question I want to ask is, can you provide an overview of your background and experiences as a neurosurgeon?
So, my background, the road that got me into neurosurgery, I come from a family of doctors. I was born and raised in Kansas, outside of Kansas City. I did 4 years of undergrad at the University of Kansas as a human biology major and a psychology minor. And then after that, I did my medical school at Kansas City University of Medicine and Biosciences in Kansas City, obviously. And then following that, I had a little bit of an unconventional road to neurosurgery. I did not match my first year out of medical school, and I spent a year doing a pre-residency fellowship at the University of New Mexico in Albuquerque. And then after that, I matched into a neurosurgery residency in San Bernardino, California at Arrowhead Regional Medical Center. So the way I got interested in neurosurgery, my uncle was an oncologist, so I went into med school thinking I wanted to do oncology. And then after going through basic sciences, neuro kind of piqued my interest in terms of the subject matter, and then I just happened to get placed into a neurosurgery rotation as a student because the initial subspecialty surgery block I chose, they said that a particular specialty isn't getting students because they didn't complete their evaluations on time, so they basically said pick another one. And then just by chance, neurosurgery was still open, so I chose that, and I saw everything that entailed working as a neurosurgery resident and a neurosurgeon, and it checked every box that I wanted. You do critical care, you do surgery, you take care of a huge spectrum of injuries, disorders, from brain tumors, aneurysms, just basic ICU care. Neurosurgery covered the full spectrum. So that's what made my decision for me.
Well, I kind of answered the second question, what motivates you to specialize in neurosurgery. So we'll switch it up to, how do you stay current with the latest advancements and techniques in the field of neurosurgery?
It's kind of a odd response, but Twitter is a huge resource, especially in the medical community, or X as it's called now. I'm always going to call it Twitter, but you'd be surprised at all the different things that people around the world will put up on Twitter, or other social media pages like Facebook, Instagram. These kind of well-known people in the community who publish a lot of papers, who have an established reputation. They'll publish some of their own cases or case series, or even if they read an article in one of the journals that they found interesting or controversial, they'll make a comment on it. They'll say, here, check out this latest article, or my thoughts on this article. It was, this is a really well done study, or I think the takeaway from this study is absolutely wrong. There's a lot of discussion that happens on Twitter if you follow the right pages, which is one way. Obviously, it's not my only way, but when you're talking about just what's hot in the current community, that's like one of the first places to look. But beyond that, just looking at the different articles that come out particular to your specialty, there's a couple very solid neurosurgery journals that you always want to read and see what's in the monthly issue. And I'm also looking at other potential affiliated specialties like the Journal of Trauma, or some of the other ones like Journal of the American Medical Association or New England Journal, different things like that.
That's very interesting to know that Twitter is one of the better outcomes to get some info. So, is there any lifestyle changes or preventative measures that an individual can reduce neurological conditions that may require surgery?
Yeah, I think the big thing in terms of, I'm a neurovascular specialist, is
right.
Smoking, keeping your blood pressure under control, and maintaining your cholesterol. Those basic things, like not doing drugs, alcohol, all those basic things that are prescription for a healthy life. Those are the things that will avoid having strokes and other blood pressure related issues where you could potentially have, bleeding types of strokes in the brain, things that cause your blood pressure to go up. I think those are the most preventable things. Other things, sometimes you can't escape your genetics, like in terms of people who have aneurysms. Aside from smoking and controlling your blood pressure, there's not really other things you can do to prevent formation of an aneurysm, right? And then when it comes to brain tumors, there's not really much you can do, aside from, obviously if you're in a healthcare related field, avoiding radiation, things like that. But there's not, if there were things we could do to prevent brain tumors, I think that would be a huge thing, but it's nothing available for that.
So going off of that, how do you approach discussing surgery options with patients and their family?
3 basic things. I always break it down into risks, benefits, alternatives. Because in a non-emergency situation, or even an emergency situation for that matter, people or family members, you still want to make sure that they have agency in that situation. So you want to make sure they have the choice of, do they really want to go through with it or not? In some people, they come in with a devastating injury or, huge bleed in the brain, and they have an advance directive that says, hey, if this happens to me, I don't want anything done. And so you have to have an honest discussion with the family, like, this is something that's already been written out. The decision's already been made for you. You don't necessarily have to make that decision for them. It's something that's already been written out by the person themselves.
Right.
But then you have other situations where you don't know, and family doesn't know, so you kind of have to just do your best. But then in elective situations, it's like, look, you have this, let's say you have an aneurysm. It may or may not, I can't predict whether or not it's going to cause you problems, but this is my best assessment. We can either choose to treat it, choose to watch it. It's up to you. You know, I think that type of conversation is what you need to have in order for not only for the people that you're taking care of to feel comfortable with what's happening and going into the mental preparation of what a surgery or treatment feels like, but also for you to have the peace of mind that you're doing the right thing. There's not going to be, if something goes wrong, there's not going to be surprises to people on the other end of it saying, look, I didn't know that this was going to happen. I didn't know that this was a possibility. You want to make sure that everybody involved is making an informed decision and that you're making the decision for the right reasons as a provider.
Yeah. So what do you find most rewarding as your work as a neurosurgeon?
There's a high risk, high reward specialty. You know, you have cases that are, you know, nobody else is able to do. And I think one of the most rewarding things is being a vascular specialist, you have people who come in with strokes, and strokes due to a large blood clot blocking off a major vessel to the brain. And if you have somebody coming in that they can't talk, they can't move one side of their body, and then you go in, you take it out, and then within hours or the next day you see them and they're completely normal. I think those are some of the most gratifying cases, because it's just a night and day difference between how they were when you first saw them and then how they are after you've been able to help.
So how important is it with collaboration with other medical professionals like neurologists or radiologists?
I think it's extremely important because it's all part of the greater whole. You know, we don't work in a vacuum. We don't do everything ourselves. We all depend on each other for help and taking care of patients in the best way possible. You know, we all specialize in our respective fields with overlap, but you know, someone with the radiology side is going to know things that I don't, or know things better than I do, and they have a different perspective. Neurology they have their own perspectives, and they also have their own management nuances that they utilize and may be better for patients than what I might do. And same thing with any other specialty. Taking care of a patient, especially in the hospital, it takes the whole team, because you have anesthesia who helps with helping keep your patient safe during a procedure and making sure that they're not in distress. You have the medicine team who takes care of them for the most part before, after, and then all the basic preventative things. And then you have the neurologists who will either help refer patients to you or help manage any complications or things that happen after surgery. And then the radiologists, obviously, everything that we do is based on imaging, and they're also in charge of that. So it's a huge group effort with everything that we do. And obviously, if you alienate the team, then it makes things harder for you.
Yeah. So what are some common misconceptions about neurosurgeries that you encountered, if any?
That we're all mean. I mean, I think that's probably the biggest one is, the number one thing I got during residence, you're really nice for a neurosurgeon, or all neurosurgery is they're always so mean, which it's part of it is it's a very stressful field. So when you have a lot of things going on at once, sometimes things come out in a way that they shouldn't. But at the end of the day, I think most of the people that I work with, they're good people. I don't know about any other misconceptions. I think a lot of people don't understand the full breadth of what we take care of. Like, we really do know a lot of medicine, and we're not like the experts by any means. But like in my residency, we took care of all our ICU patients, and we took care of them on the floor as well in terms of, blood glucose management, blood pressure management, things while in the hospital, obviously not outside the hospital.
Right.
But there is a lot of medicine that goes into our training as well, which is, I don't know that a lot of people know that.
So to wrap it up in our final question, what advice would you give someone who's considering a career in neurosurgery?
Be in it for the right reasons. I think in general that goes to medicine as a whole, but there's a lot of prestige that can be placed on these subspecialty fields. Neurosurgery sometimes is one of them, but if you're in it for the wrong reasons, you're not gonna be happy, and you may end up you're probably gonna want to quit, because it's the longest road. It's a 7-year residency, which there's no other residency that is 7 years, and it's a lot going to be put on you for time demands. So just be sure that that's what you want to do, and be in it for the right reasons, because the attrition rate for neurosurgery is somewhere between 20 and 30%. So maybe almost 1 in 4 or 1 in 3 people who match into neurosurgery end up quitting after the first year.
Oh, wow.
So that speaks to just how intense the residency training can be, especially in the early years.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Doctor. I appreciate you being here for the interview.
So thank you for tuning in to our second episode podcast with Behind the White Coat. We will have many more episodes upcoming discussing different topics of the medical field, and also interviewing medical students and also other physicians. And I hope to see you on our next episode. I would also like to bring up our other adventures with Pre-Health to Success, such as our Research Journal Club, our Senior Junior Mentorship Program, our Ambassadors Program. We also have blogs, digital magazines, and you can also follow us on Instagram at Pre-Health to Success, also through our Facebook Pre-Health to Success. And then you can find all this information also on our website, prehealthtosuccess.org. We also have LinkedIn at Pre-Health to Success. And then you can also follow us on Twitter at PH2S7.